Hey everybody, it's Gil here with the Sailing Vessel Dream Chaser, and in last week's episode you saw us do a bunch of fiberglass work, and today we're finally checking to see is it leak proof up top, and how are we going to go about hanging the new ceiling. I've had to pull some of these parts out around the side of the mast, and we need to go ahead and do some glass work in preparation for installing ceilings. So let me kind of show you what we have ahead. I'd love to tell you everything that's going to be in this episode, but I just don't know yet. Hope you enjoy the video. All right, if you recall the other day, we went ahead and cut some fiberglass. And what's interesting about this time is, I'll show you what I'm using this for. This is just going to be to tab this into the, tab these pieces of wood up to the ceiling. So I really don't care if the edges are jagged or not on this, because I don't care what it looks like. It's going to be hidden underneath ceiling material. So I'm just going to cut me, I don't know, let's say about that thick. Now, you know why I keep this stuff in a bag, it gets all over you, but in hindsight I probably should have torn it. I just cut this edge saying I didn't really care what this looks like hidden up in the ceiling. However, now I left a raw edge on my fiberglass, and depending on what I do next time with it, I'll probably need to tear it. So this is going to be good enough for what I have to do. I'm just going to fold this up and carry it down below.
So I'm down in the midship stateroom, and when I removed the old belaying pin rack base that was around the mast up top, the screws were still down in the deck. They broke off below the surface and they were glassed over. So now it's just a matter of breaking off the bottom of these tabs that stick down through the deck.
I'm now going to cut the strips that are going to go on the ceiling right around the mast where I just pulled those screws out from down below. You can see up here these pieces of wood. These are just strips that are essentially tabbed up to the ceiling, and that's what we'll use to hold and attach the new ceiling onto. So I'm going to put these around the mast. They're not there for a lot of additional support in this particular case. They're really just there to help hold the ceiling up, give it something for me to screw into along that edge. You see, you can sort of see how these are just tabbed, and as I was mentioning, don't really care so much about this particular edge if I see it, unlike up on the deck where you're going to see it. Here I don't really care because we're going to have insulation in here, and then we're going to have a ceiling that attaches to this. So I am going to get these tabbed in over here. That's going to be the next step. Let me go up top and cut them real quick.
For this application, I wanted to use a fairly hard wood, so I'm using a 1" by 2" piece of oak wood, and I'm just cutting these to the lengths I need so I can ultimately tab it up to the ceiling. I'm using a Milwaukee cordless circular saw. It's real handy on the boat for getting this kind of work done. After cutting each length of wood that I needed, I went ahead and now removed the old wood out. In this particular view, this is actually in the V-berth, and unlike the wood around the mast that was slightly rotted, this actually was termite damage. And if you've watched our videos over the last year, you know that we had some and we had to repair in the coach house as well. And I just dry fitted a piece in here to make sure it was going to work for the rest of the work here. So moving on into the double bunk room, to orient yourself, we're looking here at the aft end of the mast. Essentially, you see the sail track here. And just like before, I'm dry fitting each piece into place. I need them to all remain level at the lower portion, so not epoxied or fixed directly to the glass above, but rather even on the bottom. You'll notice I'm using duct tape here just to hold it in place. And what I really want to do is establish these in a location that I can then tab into the boat. This is a good view to show how I've done that. You see I put tape in sort of strategic places here, so there's still plenty of room for the tabbing to be done around it. Let me show you how we went about doing the tabbing.
You saw me put these up here with duct tape, and the reason I'm doing that actually sounds funny as I say it out loud, but that's just to hold it in place while I cut the tabs and ultimately fiberglass those tabs in. So I'm going to go ahead and get those cut, and then we're going to fiberglass them in and let it cure up, and we'll come back here and put the last piece in. I can get 3 of the sides in, but the last one I don't want to do until I have those other 3 cured. I think it'll make it a lot easier to put in versus one needs to hold the other, so to speak. So let's cut some tabbing and go in there. So I'm pre-soaking these pieces here. I've never done it this way before. I've seen other people try it, or I've seen other people do it this way as a way to sort of prep the material and have it stick a little better. And since I'm going in above my head, by the way, I taped plastic all down on the floor. So if any drips, I don't end up with it on my floor in here. But The idea is this will adhere a little better, and then I can stipple some more on there up in place. We'll see how well this works. This one's new to me. I'm just using this popsicle stick to kind of hold it, and you notice I'm pushing downward because I'm trying to force that epoxy down into those fibers. It's a little cool today, still within temperature, but this stuff is a little thicker than it would normally be. So, with that, I am going to give this a shot. Let's see what happens. I want to pre-wet the surface as well. Ooh, glad I have this tape down below. I just dripped on this on my hand. Alright, we are now just going to start applying these pieces into place. This piece was nice and wet compared to the others. I like the way that one went on better than the others. So the key there is more wet than dry. You can see those are a little drier. This last one on here. And this one may be the wettest of all. I went ahead and put 2 pair of gloves on so I can take one off and have essentially a clean set of gloves to work with. Turn them right inside out, and now I can pick up a brush or something like that without fear of what's going to happen with it. So I'm going to use my popsicle stick here just to get this one pushed in place a little better. Now, just like you've always seen me do as I do this, I'm stippling, I don't know if that's the right word, but pushing this into the fibers, and then I'm going to come in here and make sure it's good up against this piece of wood, because that's ultimately what's holding that in place. I'm not worried about these little fibers hanging down here because I'll sand or cut those off when we're all done. I can tell I didn't have quite the same amount of epoxy resin on here as I did with the other ones, so I'm going to be wetting this out a little bit more. It's working, but it certainly not as easy as it was with that other one. Alright, I just finished tabbing those pieces up above. In just a minute I'll turn the camera around, I'll zoom in, I'll show you what it looks like, but ultimately they're going to be used to hold the ceiling up. And in just a minute I'm going to show you a material we're considering for the ceiling. We're going to put it up here and see if it's too flexible or if we think it's going to work on this particular ceiling in this room. McKinley picked out this particular one, and we're thinking we're going to give the kids the ability to pick their own, depending on what they pick, of course. Alright, we've got each of our tabs right here. There's the first small one right there. We have another one just in front of that particular duct tape that was holding it there while this dries. I have a third one here right there. That's about 6 inches long or so. And then we have this one here that's about 6 to 7 inches long. These are pretty good tabs, and I think we'll probably be in decent shape. We'll wait for this to cure and we'll check it out.
Here's a sample of the material we were looking at putting on the ceiling of the boat. This is actually like a Pergo flooring, a laminate flooring. And what's interesting is this stuff was just from Home Depot. We picked up a sample of it. What I liked about it was the thickness. It was rigid enough that it would not be flexible on the ceiling. It would hold really well. And what attracted us to checking this piece out is it said it was 100% waterproof. So I rarely believe claims like that, and so you kind of see this gunk on the back of it. I essentially took a small bowl of water and I stood this thing up inside of a bowl of water for about 3 days. And you can see that not only did the backing peel off, which isn't a huge deal, but if you look at that, you can clearly see the thickness, how it's thicker where the wet end is. And this is after, like I said, actually it was 4 days sitting submerged in a little bit of water. Yeah, this compressed material just absorbed that moisture and started to expand. So despite the claims of being 100% waterproof, this would not work for our ceiling material. Chances are we're never going to have that much water in the boat for that prolonged a time, but frankly, with humidity and everything else, we don't want to risk it, and I don't want to put this stuff up and have that be a problem. So I always suggest if you're going to try a different material that maybe isn't a marine grade material, and some that even claim are, always worth doing a little test for it. So we like the way this looked, but now we're going to come up with a different solution.
So this is the piece in the V-berth now that the fiberglass is all hardened, and it's good and solid, so I definitely like this. Now that this piece is in place and tabbed in here and tabbed in here, I will be able to tab in my other piece that goes right here. I needed this to be solid first, so I like it. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the duct tape down off of this now that it's all cured. You can kind of see right here where the tabbing is. Everything feels pretty solid. I just grabbed a hold of it and pulled a little bit to see how it is, and I certainly like it. It's kind of the exact same way the original construction was. You can see it's tabbed in there, tabbed in right up there. So very similar process to what we did right here. I know the duct tape looks goofy here, but it was a great way to hold all this in place while my tabbing cured. And back this up. This feels good and solid all the way across.
Hi guys, Debbie here with Sailing Vessel Dream Chaser, and today I'm going to talk to you about some of the interior projects that we're doing, or me personally am doing on the boat. I've worked on the Salon the last couple weeks, and I'm now working on the midshift berth that belongs to Swab, and I'm really bad about filming, sorry. I need to do more of that, but I'm not used to being the one running the camera and things like that. So bear with me while I'm learning to remember to record my progress and what I'm doing. But basically what I'm doing is varnishing. I did do a couple staining. I think Gil covered the banister a couple weeks ago that I did black. I'm going to put a really high gloss on that. We did semi-gloss on the rest of it, as you can see behind me. The salon area is done. I still have to do the floors, but in order to do that, we have to get the cats off board, and that's going to happen next week. So we're getting close to getting back to living aboard, or getting her in shape where we can come back and live aboard. There's a lot of last-minute projects that we'll be able to finish while we're living here and on board, but I'm trying to get most of the sanding and the varnishing and that stuff done beforehand. So I'll give you a sneak peek at Swab's room. It's messy. She didn't make her bed before she went to school this morning, so bear with me. Okay, so here we have Swab's room. I did a couple extra coats on the drawers just because that's where she's going to be touching the most. As you can see, we've put up a little bit of her decor. Got to put the doors up. Back here we're testing some insulation to see if we can help with some condensation on the hull. Hopefully that will work with some of that. But as you can see, her room has come along. This area here used to be a mirror. So I've got tons of really cute ideas of what I'm going to do in there for her. After careful selection by me, we have all of the boards that we're getting, and now we're on to look for insulation and ductwork to finish out today's projects. So for today's projects on the boat, we're going to be tearing down the old ceiling here in our test pieces for pieces that we thought we would like, which we didn't, and install the new pieces that we found that we like. Getting rid of these big, bulky house-like fixtures and going with these really cool, slim, sleek ones that I had found online. They're super thin. They're LEDs, so they're super dark.
There's one of those LEDs right there. Give the TV. Jazzy's playing Minecraft.
Hey everybody, meet Cade.
This is Cade.
She's replacing our granddaughter Chastity. So now we have Cade on board.
It's like the artist formerly known as Chastity.
Is now Cade.
Hi, Cade.
Can I just watch one Sweet and Salt in peace?
Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's video. I'm going to go ahead and end it right here, and next week we're going to get all these ceilings pulled out, re-insulated, and then new ceilings put in. See you next week. Safe sailing, everybody.